When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
This is Cindy Burnett. Welcome to my award-winning podcast, Thoughts from a Page, a member of the Evergreen Podcast Network. On this show, I chat with authors whose books I have enjoyed about their new releases and others in the book world about the books they have loved. With so many books coming out weekly, it can be hard to decide what to read. So I find the best ones and share them with you. Do you love to be in the know about upcoming books? Kelly Hooker of @KellyHook Reads Books and I do too. We just recently released our 4th literary lookbook, which is a list of 686 titles releasing from June to October 2025, curated for our communities. The link to buy it is in my show notes. Today, Friends in Fiction comes on my show to chat about celebrating their 5th anniversary. Friends in Fiction is composed of Mary Kay Andrews, Kristin Harmel, Kristy Woodson Harvey, and Patti Callahan Henry. I thoroughly enjoyed hearing all about how they got started, everything they've accomplished, and what's up next for them. If you haven't listened to their show before, I've included links in the show notes for you to check them out. I hope you enjoy our conversation.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
So this is a very special episode. It is Friends in Fiction's 5th year anniversary. So all 4 of them have joined me to chat about Friends in Fiction and everything they have done with it. So I am welcoming Patti Callahan Henry, Mary Kay Andrews, Kristy Woodson Harvey, and Kristin Harmel. I'm so glad you're all here.
Thanks for having us.
So happy to be here.
We're thrilled.
Yeah.
Good to be here.
I'm so glad. Well, as I said, you're celebrating 5 years. Congratulations. I am just amazed at what you all have been able to do in 5 years, and I'm sure you feel the same way. Kristy, do you want to talk a little bit about what the journey's been like?
Sure. Yeah, I think amazed is definitely a good way to say it. We certainly never imagined being here 5 years later. We never imagined that little group that started with, members trickling in would be at, more than 250,000 members, or that we would have traveled all over the country together, or it's an amazing thing. But I will say it was sort of MKA's brainchild, so I'm going to let her tell you how it began.
I don't know. We talked earlier about it being a one group brain. I think that's how it's evolved. But just at the start of the pandemic, we all had books about to come out spring, summer that year. Bookstores were closed, libraries were closed, and we didn't know how we would promote our upcoming books, and we wanted to help our book-selling friends and our library friends. And I just said, let's get on a 5 o'clock Zoom happy hour and see if we can come up with some way to talk about our books. And then it kind of took off from there.
And one thing I don't think I've ever asked any of you all when we've had conversations is how you came up with the name Friends in Fiction. I don't know who wants to take that one because I don't know who came up with the name.
I'll just say we don't know. I think it was Kristin. Wasn't it you, Kristin? Or maybe it was Mary Kay because she loves a good alliteration. As with most things, we can't, I don't think any of us could say at this point, 5 years later, do any of you remember where the name came from?
I remember tossing a bunch of names around and nothing quite felt right until we got to this one. And then I think even Friends in Fiction took a little while for all of us to be like, yes, that's what it is. But I can't imagine it any other way now.
Well, and it's pretty funny because when we voice text each other, all of our voice texts say Friends Infection.
Yes. What I do remember is we had to come up with it quickly because we were using Mary Kay's Facebook page and we needed to start a new Facebook page. So we needed a name to start the Facebook page just to broadcast our discussions that were going to last 6 or 7 weeks.
We thought.
Yeah.
I don't think we gave it that much thought because we were like, we're going to do this for 6 weeks. Who cares what we call it? Is a little bit what I think we thought. I mean,
I think you're right.
I mean, we wanted it to be cute, but I don't think we were like ruminating over the name because we were like, whatever.
Yes.
It's funny to think about. At least you picked a name that works really well.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if it was something that we were super unhappy with now? If we'd picked something really dumb and we were calling ourselves that 5 years later?
Rebranding.
That's what I was going to say. You'd have to rebrand. I'm a huge indie bookstore proponent, as I know you all are. And that is something that I always am telling people, please shop independent. It's so important. And that is a huge part of your platform. Can we talk a little bit about that? Would you like to take this one, Kristin?
Sure. As Mary Kay said, that was really part of the idea behind the formation of the group. We were really concerned about supporting independent bookstores when the world had shut down and when we were worried about the survival of stores when they could no longer host author events, when people for a time could not go into bookstores. And we wanted to make sure that we were doing something to shine a light on that and on the existence of booksellers in our communities and the importance of continuing to support them. I think independent bookstores have been tremendously important in all of our careers. They're important in the career of every author because they're really the ones who lift us up and expose new readers to our work. So it's something that we are eternally grateful for, and it's something we have continued to make a center of the Friends in Fiction experience because we want to continue reminding people it's okay to not always shop at independent stores, but please think about independent stores when you're thinking about your book purchases, when you're thinking about purchasing a present for people, when you're thinking about buying a book for yourself, because these stores give us the sense of community that exists around books.
In the beginning, we picked one store for every show, and then we focused only on that store. And then as we realized that this was going to be a long-term thing, who thought 5 years, but definitely long-term, we decided to set up a bookshop.org page so that people can go there and buy it from our bookshop at bookshop.org, but it goes to independent bookstores. So you can pick the independent bookstore, but we encourage everyone to go there instead of picking a very particular bookstore every week because people can choose their own bookstore. But from the beginning, that was the focus.
And I love that. And I think people don't always realize that they can order from indie bookstores. You don't have to go into the store and buy, but you also can get online or get on the phone and order from any store you want, as well as Bookshop, which is a great resource.
You can also order your audiobooks from indie bookstores on an app called Libro. And I don't think a lot of people realize that they can even get their audiobooks from the indie bookstore. So raising awareness is the first step, and then people make their choices.
I agree. Well, what do booksellers tell you about the impact of Friends in Fiction on your book tours individually? And then I know we'll talk in a little bit about the tour you did together.
I think I speak for all of us when I say this, but I've actually noticed a shift in where I sell books personally. So like when I look at my numbers overall, versus 5 years ago, I personally sell a lot more books at independent bookstores versus like it's more heavily weighted towards those stores than some areas that it was before, which I think is really cool. I think independent bookstores certainly always appreciate the help and the hand. And I will say also for all of us, again, I think I can speak for all of us when I say this, our events are so heavily supported by Friends in Fiction. that I think that's another way that, it's kind of impacted the stores that we were hoping to help, because there are more people showing up and buying books and buying tickets to support those indies and to support us.
So you made an interesting comment, Kristy. You can tell where your books are sold. You all are provided that information?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we are. It's scary. Some people, like Mary Kay, is really good at not looking at things like that. The rest of us, I think, are more like, let's pull out the spreadsheet.
Well, I don't know how to make a spreadsheet, so that's part of that. And the other part is Patti and Kristin and Kristy are at different imprints under the same publishing house, and they have an author portal where they can go in and look at those numbers and tell exactly. But I think for all of us too, we hear word of mouth from bookstores, and just anecdotally now, I think all of us were being asked to do events, author events with other authors. And they say to us, we're asking you because we know your friends and fiction fans will come out.
I think that's just amazing. I love seeing the post from people in your Facebook group who will say, we were at such and such event. We met all these other friends and fiction community members. And it's just wonderful. I think people really appreciate community, especially after COVID.
Yeah.
I had an event in Denver, in the Denver area over the weekend. And I had a Friends in Fiction member who drove 7.5 hours to get there just to be part of that in-person book community. I mean, it was so touching. And in fact, speaking of independent bookstores, she mentioned that she was planning to pre-order my new book, but she hadn't decided which indie she wanted to buy it from yet, which I just thought was lovely. It's just, I think people really understand that that independent bookstores are really the heartbeat of the literary community.
I think that is right, and how much they give back to their communities and how important they are in each little place or big place, depending on where they are. Why do you think community is so important to readers? How about Patti, you take this one?
I mean, this is my favorite subject about Friends in Fiction, because that's what we didn't realize we were building, that we did build. Or to probably put it more accurately, they built. So as Mary Kay says, the phrase, build it and they will come, or I've got a barn, let's have a party. That's pretty much what we did. And what happened is they bonded. They became a community. They are together in this. They have found their own best friends within the community. As you know, there's a Friends in Fiction book club, and they formed. We have ambassadors. They hang out together. They show up at our events. And sure, they come to see us. Sure, they want to hear about the book they've already heard about 5 times. Honestly, they're there to hang out together. So what's happened is they have built the community. We just happen to have a barn.
I love that. Okay, that's a great way to look at it. I feel like books are such a fabulous subject because no matter where you are, who you're talking to, it gives you something to talk about. I've recently moved to Richmond, Virginia from Houston, and so many people have said, oh, that must be difficult. But I'm like, not really, because I have a wide book community. I've joined all these book clubs here. I had friends that I knew online, and it just really provided such an easy entree for me. And I think that there's not a lot of other things like that.
Cindy, I didn't left Houston.
Yes, I moved in August. I wondered, Mary Kay, if you knew that, because, we had so much fun when we hosted you with my salon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we moved to Richmond, Virginia in August.
And you're lucky because Richmond has a great woman-owned indie bookstore, Fountain Books, and we've all done events there and love them.
Well, yes, and we're going to be hosting Kristy in a few weeks. So, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The other thing I've noticed at these book things, speaking of community, is that people meet in line, or if it's a luncheon at a table, and they instantly have new best friends. They join book clubs. They form book clubs. I was at a luncheon just this past week where the tables weren't assigned, and a woman left and said, I just started a book club with all the women at my table. And I was like, that makes me so happy, because it's not just about coming to get a book or hear about a book. It's about the much bigger picture.
Meeting like-minded people as well, I think. It's a great connector. So you all have expanded your platform and your offerings over time. You have added book boxes, merchandise, some fun T-shirts that I was reading about, all sorts of neat things. Have you tried things that haven't worked?
Oh, yeah.
That's a great question. I think we've refined things. Okay, so I'm the merch department, so I'll talk about merch. I think one of the things that we realized kind of early on is that having a product, rolling it out, and then being finished with it was really great. But at first we were trying to like have this ongoing store, and sweet Laura at Oxford Exchange was kind of managing all of that for us. And it was a lot. And we would have products that that we thought would sell like gangbusters, and we would have all this product and they wouldn't do that well. And then we would have something that we were like, well, nobody's going to buy that. And it would sell out in like a minute. And then anyway, so I think we've refined. I can't think of anything that really was just like a disaster.
Nothing was a disaster, but go ahead.
All the cartons of stuff arriving at Kristy was the warehouse to start with. And her poor husband, Will, would open the door and there would be like a mountain of boxes.
We had a rental storage of tote bags one time, and he was like, this is insane. Like, we're not doing this anymore. Like, something's got to give you. But those were, I don't know. But yeah, it was, I think it was Patti. I don't know who it was that said it was like we were building a spaceship like while we were flying to the moon. I mean, so we would just have these ideas and we'd be like, okay, great, let's do that. And largely it's worked out pretty well. I will say we've pared down a little. I do think that was something at the beginning that was really, we wanted every single person to be on the show. And so we would be like, we had the show every week and we had a podcast every week. And then we were doing these special Sunday episodes to try to.
We were doing the after show with 2 guests. We were having sometimes 12 to 14 guests a week. And that just wasn't working.
That would be, I can't even imagine trying to do that. I went from 2 guests a week to 1, and that was such a relief. So if I had had 12, that would have sent me around the bend.
It kind of did.
That's why we don't do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, as you said, you try different things, you see what works, you think something's going to work, it doesn't necessarily work, something else is a big hit. It's really hard to guess. And timing is probably part of it too.
And something will work for a while and then won't.
I just was thinking about what we figured out doesn't work. Shipping China coffee mugs.
Yeah, that didn't work.
It's true. Did they break a lot?
If you all could see who are listening, if you could see Kristy's face right now.
Retract my previous statement. That was a disaster. That was a disaster. So thank you for bringing that up.
I don't know. I think it makes us relatable when people realize we're learning by doing it. And all of us have husbands that love to talk in sports metaphors. Right? So the one I think we've all heard from our spouses is you miss 100% of the swings you don't take.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Exactly right. And I will actually say that the coffee mug disaster was an example of how great this community is. Because, poor Tim from Nantucket Books, bless his heart, he was the one that was in charge of the box that had that in it. But people were coming on and saying, like, I'm so upset my coffee mug's broken. And other people would come on and be like, it's okay. Like, I'll send you mine. Like, it was so sweet.
Yeah. Because we couldn't get any more made. So whatever broke.
Oh, okay. So you were set. You had a finite number and there was no way to replace.
Thank God.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank God.
You're like, we're done with that. It is over.
We said replacement things, but it just was something different. So someone really was dying for that. Anyway, that's a tangent, but it was fun.
Well, actually, I'm so glad you said that, Kristy, because one of the things I've noticed about your group and the 4 of you all is how kind you are and you promote kindness and positivity on your site. And I think, as we can all see these days, that is well needed and not found a lot of other places. So let's talk about that and why you decided to have that be a part of your platform, or maybe it just innately was. Mary Kay, would you like to take that one?
I think we should switch that off to Kristin because she's the chairman of KIND.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
I was going to say the same.
Me? Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. Well, I actually was going to say I think Patti should take that one because Patti is, okay, here, I will start by saying this and then I'll throw it over to Patti. I think that the 4 of us came together out of a genuine desire to connect with readers and to do a little bit of good. And I think that because it came from a good place, it's always been a good thing with a good heart. And I think that we always say readers are the best people, and they really are. They're people who have empathy for each other and who care and who genuinely, want to give great book recommendations and lift each other up. And so I think it begins with the fact that the people who are drawn to the community are good, decent people who are there for the right reasons. But Patti is specifically more involved than the rest of us in overseeing the Facebook page. And I know that one of the challenges is making sure that everything on the Facebook page stays kind, because the internet sometimes isn't kind. We want our piece of the internet, though, to be a very kind, warm, supportive place. So, Patti, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
You know, our Facebook page has ballooned, grown, blossomed into over 250,000 people. And so keeping an eye on that is a team effort. I do it as well as everybody on this screen, but I do go a couple times a day. And little fights and skirmishes break out, and we have a list of rules on our Facebook page. And the first rule, and Kristin was implemental in setting up those rules. She wrote them and put them on there. But the first one, in all capital letters, is be kind. And so when people start to be cruel to each other or make fun of each other or tease or even insult an author, which is a total no-go on our page, I can click, this is being deleted because of the number one rule, be kind. And this is not an arbitrary idea. And so other authors come to our pages. If you want to insult an author, there are other pages you can do that. If you hate a book, you can go be mean somewhere else. We prefer you didn't be mean at all. But if you feel the need to spew whatever about a book, go somewhere else. We will not allow it on our page. You can write why you love a book. You can ask questions about a book. You can ask if someone remembers a certain book, things like that. But if you're going to come on there and say this was trash or this was drivel, and we don't allow politics, we tried to allow it. It didn't work. So there's just a lot of, we have a lot of guardrails, and we do not hesitate to delete comments, not in a censorship way, but as a means to keep people from becoming cruel to each other.
Yeah, I don't think of it as censoring. I think of it as curating.
Yeah, there you go.
And we've said to people, yes, you can absolutely say, this book didn't do it for me, or
this wasn't my favorite.
I couldn't relate, or whatever. But so I think I would say it's not censored, it's curated.
Yeah, we have guardrails of kindness.
And I think there's a pretty clear line between having a discussion about a book you didn't enjoy and being like cruel about a book. And I think that's the line we're trying to emphasize.
Well, and the great thing about the community too is that pretty much 100% of the time, if someone says something that we do, like I couldn't get into this one, or I'm halfway through, should I keep going? There are always people that are jumping in like, oh, that was my favorite book of the year. I love that so much. And I think as authors, we know how it feels to go somewhere and to see something that's horrible about your book. So at least if it's someone that isn't getting into it, but then all the commenters are like, no, I loved it, then you don't feel so bad.
I think that's right. And I think that's why you've grown to 250,000, because I think people are attracted to places where people are kind and are positive. There's so much negativity, and it's nice to be in a place where you feel like, okay, I'm going to be accepted. It's okay to say positive things, or maybe to say something like Kristy just said, I couldn't get into this. And that could be any number of things, not even that the book is not good. It's just that you're not in the right headspace, or something has recently happened, or you just finished a book that was really good. A million reasons why. So it's nicer to be able to say that. And I love the curating term.
Ladies, you'll end up shopping for your guy's deodorant, right? So try Degree's Original Cool Rush. You see, last year, Degree changed the formula, and men were mad. One guy even started a petition. So Degree admitted they messed up and brought the Original Cool Rush scent back. It's clean, crisp, and actually smells like someone you want to cuddle. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So toss one in your cart and find out why it's the best-selling men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory.
So, Kristin, you touched on something that Patti was in charge of social media and Kristy was in charge of all the merchandise. Have you all divided your tasks so each person has something they're in charge of? I obviously just highlighted two of them.
We really had to, because I think a big part of running Friends in Fiction and growing it to what it has become is figuring out our own limits and figuring out how to divide the work between us so that we're not all working on every single thing, because then that would leave no time for us to write our books. It would leave no time for us to tour with our books. And I think that figuring that out, that division of labor, the division of things we're responsible for, has just really helped us use our time a little bit better. And we're doing the things that I think we're best at. I mean, I couldn't do what Kristy does. Kristy deals with all of our finances and all of our merchandise, which just makes my head hurt. But she's amazing at it. She's so good at it. Like Kristy's brain just works in a different way than mine does. And so, we were saying to you earlier, it's like we all share a brain, but we each kind of have our own little segment of the brain that works a different way, I think.
We have a managing director.
I was just going to cut in and say, we realized pretty quickly on that we needed a boss.
Yeah. So Meg is our managing director. Ron, of course, helps with our podcast, Ron Block, a librarian. But Meg jokingly said one day when we were all like, well, you didn't do that, whatever, we're going round and round about who did what. She goes, okay, I've been on city council. Everybody has a committee. So I'm giving each of you a committee. So we jokingly call it a committee, but really it's a committee of one. So we switch around too. I can't do this right now. Can you take it? So we're still working as a team and we talk all the time and we have meetings. But Meg's our managing director. She's got the kind of umbrella view, booking the guests, making sure all that happens. And then each of us is pulling our weight in different ways.
And the beauty of a team is that everybody can take what they are really good at, play to their strengths.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I would love to hear how you feel Friends in Fiction has changed you as a writer, and I would really like to hear it from all of you. So how about we just start and go around? Mary Kay, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think it's made me more appreciative of the ways other writers write. And, when we have guests on, one of the favorite things we ask them is for a bit of wisdom about the work. And I think for myself, I've taken away so many of that stuff and taken it to heart. And hopefully it's made my books a little deeper and a little more thoughtful. And it's also, I'm reading wider than I ever did before, because for the show, we try to have all kinds of authors on. So I think I've grown as a writer and as a reader.
I feel like that with my podcast, that I have definitely read much wider than I used to. And I love that. I mean, it's a benefit, something I did not expect. How about you, Kristin?
One is having a deeper sense of who I'm writing for. Writing is such a solitary pursuit in a lot of ways. And it's just you and your computer and you're alone with your words a lot of the time. But with Friends in Fiction, we're never alone. I mean, we have this community of 250,000. We have the people who turn up to our live events. We have the people who give us feedback, who are people we get to know. That they have become our friends too, our friends in fiction. And I think so that's helped clarify who I'm writing for, I think. And I will also say that just having the support of these other three women, Mary Kay Andrews, Kristy Woodson Harvey, and Patti Callahan Henry, has given me courage to spread my wings in ways I haven't before. Because I know that if I get stuck or if I begin to lose confidence or lose steam, like I have these three people who will absolutely lift me up and help get me back on track. So we talk a lot about the friendship among the people in our community, but it begins with the friendship of the four of us. And honestly, for me, it begins with the way that these three women have supported me so deeply, personally and professionally, since the start of Friends in Fiction.
Oh, I love that. What about you, Kristy?
I mean, I can't follow that, Cindy.
I know, sorry.
I do think sort of piggybacking on what Kristin said, I mean, like I can think of several instances where I was like, I can't do this, or I'm not sure about that, or where just having, the support of, these other women on the screen with me was really vital. But I do also think there is something in that idea that Kristin said about maybe being less afraid to spread your wings, because you have this community that's going to follow you and that's going to read you and will go to that different place with you. So I think it's probably allowed us all to take risks in our writing in that way.
I love that. Okay, Patti, you're last.
There's nothing left. I mean, I'm just going to say ditto, 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 from bravery to friendship to... I think the one thing that hasn't been mentioned, because I would reiterate every single thing they said, is the business part of it. I think authors should share things like that more than they do. And we all have a lot of writer friendships. We all are deeply embedded in the writing community and support the literary and writing community, not only in having people on as guests, but we have, other friendships. We're not each other's only friend. But I think that people are scared to share business things with each other because of trust. And I have been able to glean and garner, for example, during this process, I've had a new agent, a new publisher, a new book. because I have people I trust that I can say, especially Mary Kay, who has been in the business for so long, and I've known her for almost, oh my good Lord, 27 years or something, which is insane. So, the trust issue when it comes to business is something we rarely talk about, but I think authors need to do more of it.
I like that. I think it's interesting for readers to learn more of it too, like when Kristy mentioned earlier that you're able to know from your data where books are selling. I think readers find that interesting. I also think it helps them understand when they're thinking about where they're going to purchase as well. Well, what do you think the secret sauce is that makes the four of you tick? You obviously get along beautifully well, but in an inclusive way. Like as we're talking, I feel like you're just kind of bringing me into the conversation and I'm not feeling like I'm excluded or there's all this like other stuff going on, which doesn't always happen with groups of writers. Tell me why that works so well for you all. Kristin, do you want to try that one?
Sure. I think it's because, again, kind of going back to how we started this, that was the idea from the very beginning. We weren't thinking, let's get on a screen and talk to people. We were thinking, let's find a way to connect with people because we can't do it in person. So I think it started, it was the entire founding principle of this, which I think goes to the core of who we are as people too. And I've seen this with Mary Kay and Patti and Kristy when I've seen them at events on the road. There's nobody more approachable. I mean, we could be doing these big author events where we have hundreds of people there. And I think everyone just by instinct goes out of their way to make it feel like you're there to visit with friends. I mean, that's I think just who we are. And I think that has really become a part of the feel of our community.
Doing little private jokes or private asides, that doesn't make anybody feel included. Proving that we have our own little clique is not anything we want. I always say that we're all in the same boat, meaning all authors and readers. And if someone starts punching holes in the boat or building silos, we're all going down. So it's not about that at all.
Yeah.
It's not an exclusive country club.
I think the bedrock of what we built on is our genuine friendship. And we try to come on the show and be genuine and open to hearing other people's points of view and opening ourselves to their stories. And I think once our viewers and members of our community see that it's genuine, it's real, then I think that to me, that's the secret sauce because you really can't fake this stuff.
Also, we're from literally 4 different decades.
Yeah.
Right? 30, 40, 50, 60.
It wasn't by design. I just am so old. I had to let other
No, stop. No.
I had to let other people play because everybody my age is dead.
Stop. That is not true, Mary Kay.
Now she has to hang out with us.
Okay. That is not true. But I love that. I had not really realized that.
40s, 60s, and 70s. But anyway, like Kristy and Kristin have young kids. Mary Kay and I have grandkids, right? So there's this wide array of experience and age and stage of life. And we love learning from each other and from our readers and from other authors. I think Mary Kay said the right word, open. We are open. We are not standing here with the answers by any means.
Plus, they will critique my shoes.
Yes, we will.
If I'm shoe shopping, I will FaceTime them and say, "Hey, do these make me look elderly?" And then they really, oh my God, they rip me about my choices of phrase. They'll never let me live down. Holla back.
He tried to holla back at us.
Okay, I love that.
I think if we're like just really being honest, like this isn't the Southern thing to say, but I think it should be said. We don't agree on 100% of things.
No.
And I think that is a really it's a unique type of friendship because I don't think I think there are a lot of friendships that don't survive any kind of disagreement. And I think that's how you separate something that's like a real friendship from something that is kind of more surface. Because, I mean, we've been running a business together for 5 years. I mean, anyone who's in business knows, there are a lot of details that go into that. There are a lot of decisions. And we have to come into a lot of things being like, okay, you're here and I'm here and you're here. And how do we meet in the middle on this? Because we're not just I mean, we're not just hopping on a screen and having chit chats. Like there's a lot that makes this engine run. So we have a lot of decisions to make together.
And how do you handle it when it is something that you all have differing viewpoints on?
I'm not drinking kombucha. I don't care what any of them say. I'm not drinking it.
Yeah, and I'm making it sound like, but I mean, it's little things. It's like, okay, I want to keep doing the live show every Wednesday. I think we should pre-record. It's things like that. It's things that are evolutionary.
We should stop this initiative and start this one. We should do monthly, like we did weekly essays for Parade magazine until there was a point where like a couple of us didn't want to do it anymore. We talked it through. We decided it had its time. Those kinds of things. Nothing mind-blowing.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing mind-blowing. And we all come to like the stressful parts, I think, in our cycle, in our publishing cycle at different times. So sometimes it's like, I can't do all of this right now. And then, so sometimes I think that's been a nice balance too, of having other people to be like, okay, well, I can take that recording for you and do this for you. So that's been good. So God forbid we all ever come out in the same month, or Friends in Fiction.
Friends in Fiction would shut down.
You're like, I'm sorry, I can't have that pub date. I share it with too many people in Friends in Fiction.
Oh, for sure.
No, and I didn't figure you had big blowouts. It's just interesting to see how people resolve conflict. Because as you said, Kristy, some friendships don't even make it past small conflicts. So it's just interesting and obviously speaks well to how you do resolve conflict, because you're here 5 years later, 4 of you with this business.
Nobody wants to break up the band.
Right. Exactly.
And Patti, you touched on this a minute ago, and I do think that it is one of the things that makes you all so successful, is you're not telling inside jokes. You're not making it seem like, oh, we do know each other so well. And I worked at a bookstore for years. And when groups of authors would come through, sometimes there were those types of conversations. And I always went away from it kind of feeling like ick.
Yeah.
And so it's just really nice that you make everybody feel a part of it versus trying to show, well, we're so close and you're not a part of that.
Well, they are a part of it. I mean, we all started this together, right? So
we're the glue, baby.
Well, we probably have touched on this already, but there are so many book-related shows, mine included. What sets Friends in Fiction apart, do you think? Kristy, do you want to take this one?
I do think the community is a big part of it. I mean, I think there is a lot of interaction. And even, when we're doing the live shows, we always try to really make sure we're not just asking what we want to know. We're trying to take questions from the audience and figure out what they want to know. And I mean, I don't know that this necessarily sets us apart, but I think we're very thoughtful about, who we have and why, and filling gaps and, what are readers like? What are they interested in? And even if it's not necessarily, I mean, I've read genres I've never even read before, because we know that there are people on the page. We've learned about authors that we had never heard of because of people on the page, because they wanted them. So I think maybe it's, again, we've said it a lot, and it seems to be like the punctuation mark here, but I think the community is really what sets us apart.
Well, before we wrap up, is there anything else I haven't asked that you want to tell me? What's coming up next?
Well, we've got two big events coming up, Friends in Fiction live events. Kristy's next out of the starting block in May.
Then in Myrtle Beach with Litchfield Books on
May 29th.
And then Kristin
We'll be in Manasquan, New Jersey with the independent bookstore Booktown. All 4 of us to celebrate the launch of The Stolen Life of Colette Marceau, which is my new book. So, that's something that's fun too. When we launch our own books, we get to do it together, which is really fun. It's a great opportunity to see our best friends on the road and to get together with our community on the road. When we do these large Friends in Fiction live events, we have people who drive from hours away. Again, as Patti said, not to see us probably, but to see each other. So it's really nice to know we're going to get those groups together in 2 different areas of the country coming up soon.
And do you think it's helped that you all write in a little bit of different genres? So in terms of the crossover, bringing different people in for each one of you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, we write very differently. We have different processes. I mean, we have Mary Kay, who goes in with a title and has no idea what's going to happen next. And we have Kristin, who outlines. And right, we all write differently, and we all write different kinds of books, and we don't write together. Like, we're not co-authoring yet or writing as a writing team. We are a team, but not a writing team. So we each have our own careers, our own writing style, our own process, our own subjects, our own inspiration, and that really helps.
Okay, you said yet. Are y'all thinking about writing a book together?
I was going to say, I was like, that yet just threw the world off its axis.
I'm like, wait a minute, right here, broke on the Thoughts from a Page podcast.
No, I said that because we talk about it all the time, and Mary Kay is our big no. So we have talked about it, though, but as of now, I shouldn't say as of now, it hasn't happened.
I was like, darn, I have the best news ever.
No, we have no news. We have no news.
We're still holding out hope that maybe we'll figure out a way to do it. I will say, I do think that is something that I don't know about. I will not speak for the rest of the screen, but I am like, oh my God, what if we did try to write together and it didn't go well?
You're like, we got along so well until we decided to write this darn book.
Two best friends, a guy and a girl who decide to date, and it ruins everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Or it could end up like, when Harry met Sally. We don't know.
We don't know. We don't know yet. So
Right.
yeah.
Hopefully that's the big question mark. What comes next? The joy of it is we don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah.
We have no idea.
So there are no new plans, not for just writing a book together, but anything else that you're going to be launching soon?
Just 2 new books from 2 of the 4 of us.
That's a lot.
Mine came out last month. Kristy's is in 6 or 7 weeks. Kristin's is in 3 months.
4 weeks.
Holy moly.
But who's counting?
Mine's in 6 or 7 weeks.
Oh, 4 weeks and 6 weeks. And Mary Kay has one out in May.
But it's due at the end of summer.
Yep. So, and mine just came out. So yeah, that's all that we're launching right now, Cindy.
I love you say that. That's all. Just that.
Just that.
Well, I can't thank you all enough. This was really fun. I appreciate you each taking the time to be here and celebrating the 5th anniversary of Friends in Fiction.
Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. I would love to connect with you on Instagram or Facebook, where you can find me at Thoughts from a Page. If you enjoy the show and have a moment to rate it or subscribe to it wherever you listen to your podcasts, I would really appreciate it. It makes a huge difference. And please tell all of your friends about Thoughts from a Page. Word of mouth does wonders to help the show grow. I hope you'll tune in next time.